When Ferrari launched the 458 Italia 4 years ago, we all wondered how a supercar could be any better. 4 years on, we're still all wondering, and so are Ferrari's competitors. With no one else stepping up to the plate, Ferrari has decided to have a go itself. And the result is this, the 458 Speciale. It follows in the footsteps of the 360 Challenge Stradale and the 430 Scuderia. It's a lighter, faster, more focused version of the 458. So the heart of the Speciale remains its 4.5 litre V8, but this one's been tuned. It's got high lift cams, lighter pistons, a new crankshaft, shorter inlet tracks. It all adds up to 597 brake horsepower, but that's just 34 more than the 458 Italia, and torque remains the same too at 398 pound-foot. So clearly that alone is not going to do much for the power to weight ratio. So Ferrari have put the 458 Speciale on a diet, trimming 90 kilos off the curb weight with a Lexan rear window, thinner side glass, 20-inch forged alloys, and they've seriously pared back the interior too. They've even got rid of the glove box. There are stickier tyres and beefier brakes too, and improved aero. And it all adds up to a 0 to 60 time that's come down from about 3.4 seconds to 3 dead. And the gains keep incrementally increasing. You get to 124 in 9.1 seconds. That's 1.3 seconds faster than the Italia. And the Speciale laps Fiorano, which is Ferrari's test track, even faster than the Enzo supercar. But the numbers only tell you so much about this car. What's more important is how it feels. And I tell you, it makes you feel absolutely amazing. So what do you notice then versus a 458? I mean, the steering is still really, really quick. There's definitely less roll. It slides all over the place. I mean, it was going in 3rd gear before. So, you know, Ferrari won't like me mentioning this, but in a lot of ways the Porsche 911 GT3 is a rival for this car, and there's no way in the world that GT3 would slide around like that. It's much, much stickier. It depends what you want. For out and out hooliganism, there's nothing quite like this. It makes you work a lot. There's definitely a lot less roll than in the Italia. There's less understeer. The gear shifts have been improved. I mean, they're mentally fast anyway. I think what I noticed, first of all, I've kind of forgotten now because I've been driving it a bit. But it was the fact that the downshifts seem to be somehow even more positive. They're just there straight away. There you go. Still a little bit of understeer, which I don't mind. It just, but once you got that understeer, it's a very, very quick sort of journey to having lots and lots of oversteer. It feels a lot stiffer than the 458 Italia, but it's still got the adaptive dampers. You still push this button on the steering wheel and it says bumpy road. It softens them off, and it's actually, when you do that, it's still very, very compliant. So even though it's got much less roll than the 458, it still soaks up the bumps. Not as well as the Italia, but it still does it. And I wonder if the difference between the bumpy road mode in the Italia and the full-on sport mode in this they've widened it out a little bit, so the stiffness is more noticeable. This car sounds absolutely sensational, but I'm not sure it sounds quite as good as a regular 458. It's a little bit gruffer. Maybe, I don't know, I'd have to drive them back to back, but my first impression was it didn't sound as good. The throttle, I think, is even sharper, which is unbelievable, because the throttle response in the standard car is amazing. One of the engineers last night was telling me they looked at the GTE cars, the Le Mans racers, and got some tips from those. And the throttle is extremely sensitive. But when you combine all that with the E-diff, and you slide it through corners, and you've got a very sensitive throttle, and the instant lock of that diff that's predictive as well, so it can guess what you're going to do. It's amazingly direct and responsive, and it is an absolute blast. Improving on the 458 Italia is quite a task, and fantastic as the Speciale is, I'm not entirely sure it's actually better. Instead, it's different, improved in numerous areas to make it a more ruthless, even more hardcore car to drive. But that involves compromise. There's much more road noise, the ride is less comfortable, and the throttle is incredibly edgy. If you want to drive a 458 regularly on the road, I'd save some money and stick with the Italia. But if you want your 458 to be the purest, most extreme mid-engine Ferrari imaginable, then it's Speciale all the way.